we are talking about the Finance Committee, or I should say the Democrats on the Finance Committee, who refused to provide a quorum this week to vote on two of Donald Trump's nominees, Steve Mnuchin for Treasury Secretary and Congressman Tom Price for Secretary of Health and Human Services. He would be in charge of cutting your Medicare and your Social Security and your Affordable Care Act. The vote did not go forward on both those guys because, according to Sherrod Brown, he wanted both of them to come back to the committee, explain why they outright lied to the committee. They each had different respective lies, and then maybe work it from there, which, of course, I don't know if that's going to happen. Before we get to your sense, David, of whether or not this vote's actually going to go forward, I want to just stop on Tom Price. The lie that he talked about was whether or not he had an opportunity to get favored shares that were not available to the public. That seems to be pretty cut and dried. There's also this extant issue of him claiming that his broker had bought stock, unbeknownst to Tom Price, in a company that Tom Price then just coincidentally, within 2 weeks, introduced legislation that was almost for the benefit of exclusively that one company. Maybe in one other company helped too. But that to me both seems hard to believe and arguably criminal.
Yeah, and there's a similar issue with this innate immunotherapeutics, where he was instrumental in the 21st Century CARES Act, which actually passed Congress last December, which will enable Innate to speed up the approval process on one of their multiple sclerosis drugs. So there does seem to be this history with Price of trading in these stocks and then using his power as a congressman to try to benefit personally the ability for these particular companies to succeed.
So what do you think are the chances that the Democrats will do this? I mean, like literally, is there no way to fill these vacancies if the Democrats refuse to show up at the committee hearings?
I'm not sure that there's no way. There are a number of things that Republicans could do. Number one, they could simply change that rule that you need a quorum at these committee hearings in order to conduct business. And indeed, Orrin Hatch, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, kind of made a veiled threat about that today. So that's a possibility. The other one is that they could advance these nominations directly to the floor without a committee recommendation. We've seen that John Bolton got to the floor that way, actually, back in the Bush administration. And you know, the third thing is that as we see with these boycotts and holdouts, I mean, you kind of can only take them so long, whether you're talking about Wisconsin or Indiana back when these labor protests went forward. It becomes more difficult as the days go on. But I think the Democrats made a strong point that you can't just have these nominees come in and lie to the committee and get away with it. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Republicans are really care about that particular consequence.
Now, so this week we saw Betsy DeVos get out of the committee process on a party line vote, 12-11. And this is even after of the revelation that she plagiarized one of her responses to the committee's questions from an Obama official. It doesn't seem to me, David, that there's going to be any rejection of any of Trump's nominees. I mean,
well,
by
maybe
Republicans.
I would say that the only possible rejection, this would probably be through a withdrawal, is of Andy Puzder, the nominee for Labor Secretary, whose confirmation hearing has now been delayed 4 times. It was supposed to be next week. That has pushed back. He cannot get the forms filled out in terms of the Office of Government Ethics and the financial disclosures. He's had several weeks to fill out these forms. They still haven't been filled out and turned in. There was a story in Politico where he claimed to be tired of the process and all these questions. And of course, Andy Puzder is the guy whose wife appeared in disguise on Oprah talking about the history that she had with domestic violence with her spouse. And then today it came out that his mentor was this lawyer who worked for the mob. So it just seems like there are a lot of reasons why Andy Puzder just might not make it to the finish line.
So we may not have him to kick around anymore. That just means that there's a slight delay in the Trump's administration's plan to totally destroy any type of labor regulations across the country. So I guess thank goodness for a little favors, and of course this week we found out who the Republican, or the nominee, I should say, to the Supreme Court. So things are going to move forward. But how much obstruction? I mean, how encouraging is? I mean, and of course, you had the Democrats not going in and sort of slowing up the process because of a process issue, right? Lying to the committee is a process issue, rather than saying we're not going to accept the legitimacy of any of these picks, or we just find these people to be so outside the mainstream. Give me your sense on that. Like how much spine is there on the Democratic side?
I think Democrats in the Senate are struggling to catch up with the desires of their constituents. The constituents very clearly want a blanket resistance using any trick that they have and some that they don't have to stop whatever it is Trump wants from happening. I was surprised in writing this story about how these nominees were stalled. People were angry. They said, "Why stall? Why can't they block them?" And my wonder is, what is the mechanism for that in a Senate that is controlled by Republicans? But that is the clear message coming out of the rank and file. And Senate Democrats who have voted for certain nominees, who have allowed certain things to happen, maybe without the level of resistance, without requiring unanimous consent or things like that, they are being criticized pretty heavily from their constituents. And so, whether or not the idea that you're going to block everything when Republicans have total control of government is realistic or not, that is at some level the expectation.
And at the very least,
Senate Democrats are going to have to figure that one out.